it turns out we're getting lots of questions on YouTube. And so I'm going to ask one more question. And since this is a fairly easy question to answer, it's going to be for 60 seconds. We're going to go, now I'm going to get confused. We're going to go with Mr. Olson next. And the question is this: do you commit to enforcing existing required background checks for handguns and assault rifles as required by current law? And you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, existing background checks and everything are already done at the statewide level, and I believe through the alcohol, tobacco, firearms. And I believe the Washington State Patrol was creating additional officers in the future to do all the additional background checks that are going to be required due to I-1639. As far as the sheriff's office goes, doing background checks, I think that is something that once a plan is in place, whether the state has taken over that or whether that is going to be the sheriff's office to do their part, I think it is important that we do those background checks and we don't end up with guns in the wrong hands, like is occurring across the country with felons. And I'm definitely against having guns in the wrong people's hands, which may be somebody who's mentally unstable, convicted felons. Those people should not ever have weapons.
Thank you. So, Mr. Myers, I'm going to ask it again. Do you commit to enforcing existing required background checks for handguns and assault rifles as required by current law? And you have 60 seconds.
Well, current law is actually transitioning this over to another agency. I was actually on the committee to make recommendations to the governor on this very thing. Our recommendations were very strong that this needs to be kept at the local level. We have the most, we have the best information. We have the most recent information. We know if somebody's scheduled to go to court, and we don't have the same records management systems throughout the state. And so with this being transitioned over to the State Patrol and Department of Licensing, it's going to create a little bit of a void there because we're still going to have to look at those things. I strongly support a level of background investigation because, again, we don't want convicted felons. We don't want violent felons possessing firearms, especially when they've already established they'll use those. So there is a level of background checks that has to be done. And I believe that it's law enforcement's responsibility to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, it's now time for closing statements, and you have 60 seconds.
Thank you very much. You know, it's really concerning for a lot of people right now with all the stuff that's going on across our country. Movements to defund police, concerns over civil rights violations, concerns over civil rights violations from both the government. It's tough right now, but you know, being in Kittitas County is kind of like being on an island here. We're a pretty safe community. We work well with our public. You know, I'm not worried about defunding the police. We were never given money to do these additional things that we've been asked to do. No matter what the problem is, when you call us, we're going to come. We're going to do what we can to support you. We're going to do what we can to solve the problem. We can't solve every problem. We respond to over 3,000 complaints a year. Not everyone's going to be happy, but we're always going to show up. We're always going to do what we can. It's a pleasure serving.
Thank you. Mr. Olson, you have 60 seconds to do your closing remarks.
Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Daily Record. So I want to be your next Kittitas County Sheriff, as I believe there's a need for professionalism, accountability, transparency, in all law enforcement agencies, including our Sheriff's Office. I have 28 years of law enforcement experience, 25 with the Washington State Patrol, who's known for its high level of professionalism and an agency that everyone always goes to as kind of a standard to follow. I feel very honored that many citizens in this county have asked me to run. Every time I run into them in the store, wherever it may be, it's very encouraging to find out how many people want to see a fresh set of eyes and ideas brought to the Sheriff's Office, which is something I will do. I already have plans in place. I want to have a strategic plan where I can look forward to the future 5 years out and something that I will put in place when I'm sheriff. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your vote.
I would like to thank Clay Myters and Bart Olson for sharing their views and their willingness to serve as Kittitas County Sheriff. We want to thank our co-sponsor, the Ellensburg Daily Record newspaper, and Ellensburg Community Television, Spectrum Network, and Inland Networks for showing the forum videos throughout the voting season. Finally, thank you to the many league volunteers who make these events possible. To get more information about all of the candidates running in the 2020 general election, the Kittitas County League has created a nonpartisan online voters guide where you will find links to candidate websites and other helpful resources. You can also get information at vote411.org and at the Washington Secretary of State's office. Your vote matters. Join me by casting your ballot in the November 3rd general election. Thank you for joining us.